going? So by the title of this video, you know what I'm going to chat with you about, and that is how to have an induction without pain medication. So a lot of people will tell you that if you have an induction, it is not, quote, a natural delivery. I would actually beg to differ on that. I felt like I had as natural a delivery as anyone else, other than my body just needed a kickstart. So a little backstory about my labor and delivery story. So I got pregnant with my second child. My midwife team was actually concerned that I wasn't gonna make it to the full 40 weeks because I had had a premature baby before. So I was being really, really closely monitored. I had the 2-week appointments start early as well as the 1-week appointments starting early. In the beginning, I had some hypertension or high blood pressure, and then it kind of leveled itself out during the midpoint in my pregnancy, and then my blood pressure started to spike again to kind of a dangerous level. Now, I wasn't having any of the symptoms that were going with high blood pressure. I didn't see any spots. I didn't have any headaches. I didn't have any like foggy memory, nothing like that. Personally, I am like an anxious person just in general. So I think that it wasn't necessarily high blood pressure looking back. It's more like I was feeling anxiety just by being in like a hospital environment and just kind of knowing that I could potentially have an induction. I, as a very natural person, like I persuaded my way out of an induction for almost a full week. So my labor and delivery team and my midwives, they wanted to induce me around 38 weeks. And I don't know, I just had this goal to make it to 40 weeks in my mind. I had had a premature baby and I just wanted to show people that my body could make it to 40 weeks. So for an entire week, I went up to the hospital every day and had a non-stress test. And if you don't know what that is, basically what they do is they just put the monitors on you and baby. What happens is they will do an ultrasound after that. So they just want to make sure that your baby is like moving well, that the fluid looks good, and that your baby's heart rate is where it needs to be. So Harrison always looked so wonderful on the ultrasound, other than being just a teeny little guy. So his weight always measured really, really low. He was just kind of a little baby. So around like 39 weeks, my placenta started to fail. And I went in for my 39-week appointment with my midwife, and she sat down and she told me all of the risks that included myself dying and my baby dying. And if I didn't choose to go with an induction, I put myself and my child at risk. And hearing those words really struck home with me. So at that point, I realized that it was medically necessary and that the benefits of having a natural delivery no longer outweighed the risks of having an induction. So I called Brian that day and we actually had to go home and like pack our hospital bags. I know. I wasn't packed at 39 weeks. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. I guess I was in denial that it was gonna go into labor anytime soon. So I wasn't packed, so we had to go quickly pack our hospital bags. Delilah was at school during this time, so we got everyone set up to pick her up. So my mom actually took care of her, and then we also had my mom take care of our dog. So everybody was set. We went to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I started having like natural contractions. It was awesome. I was like, I'm not gonna need to be induced. My body's gonna do it on its own. But they were really, really mild contractions, and like even though I was walking around and like trying to stimulate contractions, they slowed and like tapered off. So yeah, so then the nurse or the doctor came in and talked to me, and she wanted to give me a medication called Cervidil, and I didn't want any of that. And that was basically to soften your cervix and get your cervix to start dilating on its own. So that's kind of like a first step with many inductions. I actually, thanks to my wonderful husband doing research while we were in the hospital, went with a Foley bulb. And if you don't know what a Foley bulb is, it's essentially like a balloon and a catheter, and they put that up inside of your cervix and it sort of like manually dilates your cervix. So it was, in my opinion, it was quite uncomfortable. I wouldn't necessarily call it painful. I was having a lot of like back labor during that time. It gave me a lot of strong back contractions, but I'm not exactly sure if that was because of the Foley bulb or because Harrison was still sunny side up when most babies are facing like towards the ground for delivery. That could have been part of it, but we went with the Foley bulb, and then I had to end up going on Pitocin. So they started me at the smallest dose, and it actually took quite a lot of Pitocin for me to actually get going in labor. I was up to like 20, I think they call them micrograms. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I had to get up to like 20 micrograms for my labor to even start. At that point, my contractions were coming regularly, and that is when I really started to need to use some of these tips. So let me just give you my tips of pain medication-free induction. So just like any other pain med-free delivery, my first tip is to not panic. In my experience, if I started panicking about the pain, it was actually painful. So if I was in my mind like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, how much longer is this gonna go? I can't do this, that kind of thing. If I let myself go into panic mode, then I actually had pain. If I was calm and tried to keep my body relaxed and visualize my baby, that kind of thing, a lot of what I felt was really just pressure, honestly. There definitely is pain associated with having a pain medication-free labor, but you can actually really reduce that pain and the sensations that you're feeling just by kind of your mental state, honestly. My second tip is to remember to breathe and to keep your face free of tension. Anytime I forgot to breathe, I felt a huge rush of pain. As long as I kept like the tension out of my shoulders and out of my face and just kind of let my body do its thing and just kept breathing, everything felt okay and really manageable. Again, I'm not here to tell you that I had a pain-free delivery because I certainly didn't, but a lot of the sensations that I felt were more along the lines of like heavy duty pressure and like cramping. I didn't necessarily feel a lot of like intense pain. I think there were a few instances where I felt that, but really that was when I let myself go into panic mode and when I forgot to breathe. Even like pushing my baby out and the whole delivery part really wasn't very painful for me. I mean, there was a lot of pressure and I could actually feel like his skull moving down through my pelvis. I felt all of those sensations, but I didn't necessarily feel pain. So definitely keep breathing. Make sure that you have someone with you to remind you to breathe, whether it's your partner or your nurse, or if you have a doula, definitely have someone there to help you to remember to keep your body calm and to keep breathing. My third tip is to set up a reward for yourself. So whatever incentive you need, give yourself some kind of incentive for the end of your delivery. So I told myself that if I made it through a pain medication-free induction, number one, I was gonna tell everybody about that because a lot of people have this stigma about Pitocin that it's like super painful and the contractions are really intense. And for me, honestly, I think the contractions were definitely more intense, but it's not because it was Pitocin, it's because the rate at which they were coming. So with Pitocin, you don't really get a break in between contractions, and with natural contractions, you do. So, and again, I was up to 20 micrograms, which I don't know why I stayed on 20 micrograms for so long, but my contractions were coming like back to back and like crazy fast. And finally, like I asked my midwife to turn the Pitocin down. She felt like that was an okay option to give me some pain relief, but definitely, yeah, I gave myself a reward for getting through. And the first one was telling everybody. And the second one for me was to treat myself to something nice that made me feel pretty after delivery. And I think it was just like a dress at Target or something, but it was something really small, but it's something that I really wanted, and I knew that would help me to stay focused during delivery. So set up some sort of incentive system for yourself. And even if you need like small incentives throughout, like maybe you get a bite of ice cream if you make it to 5 centimeters. Maybe you give yourself little incentives along the way. So maybe something at 7 centimeters, maybe something at 9 centimeters, maybe something when it's time to push if you're still in like a mental state where you can communicate with folks. Because personally, I was not at time to push. I did not want to talk to anybody. I felt like I was in a really like primal zone. Give yourself incentives as you see fit. The fourth tip that I have for you to get through an induction without pain medication is to remember the reason why you wanted to have a pain med-free delivery in the first place. So mine was essentially because I made it to like transition phase with my daughter without any pain meds. I made it to around like 8 centimeters, and I wanted to know what the entire birthing process felt like. I also just felt like I had heard a lot of stories about recovery being easier and that kind of thing. And I really wanted that for myself. So remember your reason for wanting a natural delivery and remember why that was important to you in the beginning, and you will get through it like a champ. So keep reminding yourself. If you need someone there to remind you, make sure that you tell them your reason and say, you know, when I ask for pain meds, please tell me this. And that will really, really help you to get through your labor. The fifth tip that I have for you to get through a induction without pain meds is to ask 3 times. So my husband and I set up this system that I would ask him 3 times before I actually received any kind of pain medication. So I would have to ask once and give space in between. I would have to ask once and give space in between. I would say it would have to be like a few contractions in between, or, you know, something there. It couldn't be like one right after the other, that kind of thing. And then you know, if I still really felt strongly that I needed something, then something would happen for me. So this was just to, you know, get me out of panic mode. And if it was like a pain that was going to go away or that was going to become more manageable, if I could get back in the right headspace, that kind of thing. So this really, really, really worked well for me. And I would highly recommend implementing this 3 system for yourself as well. The 6th tip that I have for you is don't fight the pain. And along with this, like, don't fight what your body wants to do. So for example, when it was almost time for me to push, my body wanted me to like go to the bathroom. I had this sensation that I needed to go number 2. So I walked into the bathroom with a little bit of assistance. Well, a lot. Actually, I think my husband essentially carried me into the bathroom, and I sat on the toilet. So that was a really, really comfortable position for me. I really felt like things were happening, changes were happening. And actually looking back, like most of my birth team kind of doubted that I knew what was going on. But yeah, just listen to what your body needs you to do. Don't fight through any painful sensations that you feel. And again, just keep all of those positive things going in your mind, breathing, relaxing, using your support people around you, and anything else that you brought to keep you in a really, really positive space. And then my 7th tip for you is to be flexible. You know, you're already in a space where you probably don't want to be. A lot of us who plan for natural deliveries don't plan to have an induction. I know I didn't. My birth plan was already like being tampered with, and that was just like rocking my world. And I had a really difficult time being flexible with other changes. So if you can, just kind of be flexible, make sure that you're informed and that you're asking questions, and that you know what is going to happen next, and that you know sort of what the benefits are of anything they want to do, and then the risks. And make sure that you weigh those things, and the benefits should always outweigh the risks if you are going to have some kind of an intervention. So just really make sure that you are staying informed, but also being flexible if you can. And then my 8th and final tip is to hire a doula. I had a doula, and she is now one of my dear friends. I send her pictures of my kiddos often. We send text messages back and forth, and I just consider her to be such a dear, dear friend. And she really advocated for us in the delivery room. She asked questions when we didn't know what to ask. She came to the hospital multiple times because, as many of you know, if you're having an induction or if you've had one before, an induction can take a long time. So she was there with us. She stayed for many hours. She was very sleep deprived, but she was totally on it. She asked all of the right questions. She really supported me when I needed it, and more even, she supported Brian as well in supporting me. She kind of guided him and told him sort of what needed to happen next, that kind of thing. It was really great to have her. and I highly recommend having a doula. If you don't know much about doulas, I'm happy to make a video on, you know, how to select a doula or what the purpose of having a doula at your birth is. I'm totally happy to make that video if any of you guys are interested. I would actually really like to make that video. So if you are interested, go ahead and leave that down in the comments below. But those are all the tips that I have for getting through an induction without any pain medications. So with that, if you are one of my current subscribers, thank you so much for being here. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I am so amazed when I look at where this channel has grown to, and it's because of you. I say I couldn't do what I do without you. That is 100% the truth. If you have not yet subscribed, I would absolutely love to have you join us. I do pregnancy and parenting and like trying to conceive stuff. I do like basically all the mom things on this channel. So I would love to have you joining our channel, and it would be just wonderful to have you. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button just right down there, and hit that notification bell as well so that you can get notifications when I post. And if you want to connect with me outside of YouTube, all of my social media is also down in the description box below, so check that out. We recently got a PO box. How exciting! And I would love to have you guys send us a letter or two if you would like. We would love to connect with you there as well. With that, by the way, you guys, have fun today.